What are you? Don't worry. I'll give it back to you after this. I'm sure it's bugged, and we wouldn't want anyone listening in now, would we?
We'll take a few laps around the block and then drop you back off at the hospital. Sorry, but we just need a bit of your time.
Very well. Who are you people?
We're just local detectives, but Kitakata-sensei is an acquaintance of ours. We know about Mitsuru-kun, and we know that 5 years ago, a man named Shinya Kawai mysteriously disappeared and died.
I have no idea what you're saying.
But you do. I know how this must come across right now, so I assure you, we aren't the ones posing a threat.
Fine. What is it you want, then?
All I want is the truth, in your own words, about Shinya Kawai, and how you carried out his murder.
You're mistaken. I didn't do it.
The other day you received a call from Kitakata-sensei, didn't you? He goes by the name Kawana now, and works as a handyman in Ijincho. He made that call because we needed to confirm something.
Confirm what?
Whether or not you were being watched by public security.
Public security.
As it turns out, you are. Your cell phone is bugged. That kind of trace is only possible with cooperation, unless you're public security. They want to hit you where you're vulnerable. And that's what you are now, after Kawana. Do you understand, Kusamoto-san? You must really be something. You were never in this job for yourself. That's why you don't owe anyone anything. You're free of constraints. And Mitsu combine all that with a capable bureaucrat like you? You're cleaning up house, tackling the revolving door problem. Things you know are the right moves. I understand even the cabinet gauges your opinion, but I think that's also made you some enemies. Most likely whoever's holding public security's leash.
I have more than a few enemies. And I have no doubt public security. To be quite frank, the establishment is made up of various powers which control. But naturally, each branch has its own agenda, which leads to all sorts of issues and hindrances. The more individuals who make up society, the more unavoidable.
Are you implying it's public security's job to loosen those?
The world we live in requires all kinds of value systems to coexist. But if you loosen the constraints too far, in that regard, public security's role is to stabilize and maintain the state, even while bound by constraints. In other words, the constraints of these powers are precisely what are... So the fact that I am not caught up in all that does, indeed, make...
Pesky foreign objects. To these establishment people, you're some...
I guess there's bullying among adults in high places, too.
Yeah. Now we know why they were looking for any kind of... And that's when they turned the spotlight on Shinya Kawai's, an event that was triggered by Akihiro Ihara's case. You know the...
Yes.
An active-duty policeman exacted revenge on the bully who drove his... Your enemies must have heard that and thought to themselves, what would Reiko Kusamoto have done to her son's bully? I'm guessing that's what prompted public security. As the details of Ihara's case came to light, a group of thugs calling themselves RK started looking for Shinya Kawai, all to find out that he was kidnapped 5 years ago.
I never did anything out of revenge.
Even after finding out Kawai disappeared, public security still had to verify it. But if they found out you were involved, that'd be a win for them. They'd finally know Reiko Kusamoto.
How long are you going?
As public security figured out, the bullying cases involving Toshiro Ihara, that link being Sawa-sensei. She was Mitsuru-kun's classmate and Toshiro Ihara. Not only that, she was also linked to Ihara's murder victim. So not long after the murder, RK came. That must have been when they got Kawana's name. I think Sawa-sensei suspected that Kawana was... And Soma steps in. With his professional interrogation skill. Kusamoto-san, you knew she was killed, right? Kawana should have...
Wait, are you... He said he wouldn't cause me any trouble. And...
Kawana and I are competitors on a temporary ceasefire. We're not colleagues. Has anybody from public security contacted?
I have my suspicions.
What are their names? I imagine what they wanted was to exploit your weakness, because if all they wanted was to eliminate you, some kind of...
Yes.
Do you have any idea what these people are after?
What they want is control of the pension fund, which is
Pension fund?
an independent agency within the ministry manages the National Pension Fund. It's taxpayer fund.
What?
And certain groups want to take bigger risks with that money. In other words, they want the health ministry to use they believe that's the only way to secure the future of...
I mean,
Of course. If we lost the gamble, then we wouldn't be able to guarantee anything. That's why the health ministry manages those funds conservatively.
Okay.
you do? Don't leave me in the dark.
To be able to gamble all this taxpayer money to save the economy, they need a change up. And here's Kusamoto-san, head of the office. Her position has the power to take action. Not only does Kusamoto-san have the power, if a new vice minister were to try it.
So that's why they wanted to find her weakness?
Exactly. And if the 160 trillion yen gamble were to fail, they can blame them.
Okay.
I'm guessing they've already contacted you.
That's an assumption.
How's your son?
He could wake up any minute now.
I see.
We transferred him to Toto University Hospital just this year, but it turns out they don't do anything much different from the previous hospital.
I have to ask you about Shinya Kawai. You killed him 5 years ago. With your own hands, didn't you? I understand what your feelings must be towards Kawai, but was that really the only answer?
If you've spoken to Kitakata-sensei, then you must know about the video of how Mitsuru was treated.
I do.
Aside from Kawai, the other students pretended like nothing happened. They took no responsibility. They put on their sad faces, and they came to visit Mitsuru at the hospital. But looking back on it now, I don't think they really wanted Mitsuru to wake up. In fact, that's what they were checking on. And what did I do? I bowed my head and thanked them. It was only later that Kitakata-sensei showed me the video. That's when I knew that those kids going unpunished was wrong.
And your solution was to pull them into the quagmire? Make them accomplices in murdering Kawai?
If you already know so much, what more do you need to ask?
I get it now. Let me reiterate. We are not your enemy.
Then please, let me go.
Anything you want me to tell Kawana?
I do. He needs to run. Far away. Public security has their sights on him. His capture is not a question of if, but when. He's in danger if he remains in, and once public security has him...
You mean he'd be tortured?
Yes. Somewhere well beyond. No one can withstand what they do. He'd tell them everything.
They would expose your vulnerability.
Most likely. They'd gamble away the taxpayers' money, and I'd never purge the corruption in the health ministry.
I get that. But what is...
What?
Because in my opinion, you need to turn yourself in, Kusamoto-san.
You want me to admit to manslaughter? You think I killed a real man? I say he was less than one. Shinya Kawai. He was little more than a subhuman brute. And you saw it. You saw what that brute did to my son. I hated Kitakata-sensei. He was an incompetent teacher. An idiot who turned a blind eye to Mitsuru being tortured. But that changed when he suddenly showed up 8 years later. And then he showed me that video. He said, every bully in that video, they deserved to be punished. That it was the only way to get closure.
You took him up on it? But you of all people should have known better.
True. You're right about that. I struggled with it quite a bit. It's an unconscionable act, no matter how deep your animosity runs. But Kitakata-sensei's words hung on. I couldn't get them out of my head. I saw for myself. I went to Kamurocho, where I'd heard Kawai was working, at a girls' bar. So you know, after Mitsuru jumped that day, Kawai came to me in tears to apologize. I hadn't seen him in all that time. If he'd frozen in place when he saw me, if he'd been the slightest bit apologetic, I might have been able to stay my hand.
I take it he didn't do any of that.
Right. He didn't even recognize my face. And that's hardly the worst part of it, actually. When he saw me, he took me for some bawdy cougar on the prowl for young men. If you've got the cash, I'll show you a good time, he said. All those tears he'd shed years earlier were a farce. But I knew that. Deep down, I'd already known that. That was it. That was the moment I lost all doubt about killing him. And as for those other kids who bullied Mitsuru, they should thank me they didn't share his fate. But that's why. That's why I don't feel like I have any sins to atone for. Every night I pray he will wake up. What more can you ask me to endure?
Kawana said something similar. But you think you can repeat all that? This time say it to her.
Isn't that Sawa-san?
You and Kawana can congratulate yourselves. You got vengeance on a monster. But what you're choosing not to see is that your actions had consequences for her. It's vicious. I've seen this before. Justice for one at the cost of another. Someone innocent always pays the price. I won't just sit here and watch as history tries to repeat itself. This phone isn't being traced by anyone. So, if you have a change of heart, just give me a call before you turn yourself in. That's all I had to say. We're back.
Right here okay, Yagami-san?
Yeah. I'm gonna go talk to Kawana. Need to tell him I met with Reiko Kusamoto.
He's gonna be pissed, you know? He's gonna try to rip you a new one.
That's true.
You sure?
Really, guys?
Well, look who we have here. Haven't seen your mug in a while.
It's only been 2 or 3 days. Where's Koana?
How should I put this? Would you freak out if he was right behind you?
You know, this kind of shit is why you get on my nerves.
Couldn't we have done this by phone?
I just came from seeing Reiko Kusamoto. I told her to turn herself in for murdering Kawhi 5 years ago.
You what?
What did she have to say about that?
That she had no sins to atone for.
Of course not. Look, what do you think you're doing? Her part in this is done. Don't drag her back into it.
This isn't yours to finish. You would just let Sawa-sensei stay collateral damage. How do you think her folks feel? They probably think you killed their daughter. And they don't know why, or if justice will be served. Do they have to suffer like that? All without even knowing the truth? Would Sawa-sensei want that? You talk about justice, but she keeps getting left out. You aren't even trying when it comes to her.
Say whatever you want, but if you cause Kusamoto-san any more pain, I will never forgive you.
That's exactly why I didn't tell you I was going to meet her.
Listen, Yagami. She hides it well, but she's never gotten over the fact Mitsuru tried to jump to his death. And she's not sure how to feel about killing Kawhi. Unlike me.
If she was anything like you, I would have pushed her harder to confess.
There's no evidence that she killed Kawhi. He simply vanished from Kamurocho, and the police didn't even know about it. Besides, there's no case without a corpse. Point being, she'll never be charged. Even if she did turn herself in, the police wouldn't know what to do with her.
Don't think for a second that you're getting a pass here. You've killed, what, 7 people now?
You got proof? Running around making baseless accusations.
My colleagues in Kamurocho are getting ready to appeal Ahara's case. Your action...
I wouldn't even call that bad news. I want the world to... And by then, I'll probably be going by a different name.
You're just gonna keep doing this?
Is that the only thing? Truth be told, I don't think exposing everything is even in Sawa's best...
What?
Sawa-kun herself felt guilty. I just sent you the proof.
What is this? An audio file?
After Ahara-san lost in court, she called me. I recorded our conversation.
Toshiro-kun came running to the roof. His face was pretty swollen. And a few minutes later, a student named Mikoshiba came up. Look, I'll never forget the fear I saw in Toshiro-kun's face. He told me about everything. The teasing, the beatings, how nobody was honest, and yet I had to deny all this. They said there was no hope, that I was the only... Believe me, I never...
Sawa-kun's testimony in court was false, and she was racked with guilt over it.
And your first thought was to record it?
Yes, and then I played it for Ihara-san. He had the right to know the real reason his son killed himself.
All you did was light the fires of vengeance in Ahara's heart because you didn't want to be alone.
You know, I've heard that bullying is almost instinctive. That's why people... I mean, think about it. Would you stop cleaning a toilet just because it'll get filthy again? Somebody's always got to get his hands dirty.
And that somebody's gonna be you?
If it means I can prevent another Mitsuru Kusamoto, yes, I will keep killing. These bastards who prey on the defenseless must be punished for all to see. I wish the law would do its job. Because deep down, I don't want to do any of this.
I understand what you're saying, but you're taking it too far. Just stop, Koana.
If you really want to stop me, you're gonna have to kill me. And call it justice.
I thought you guys were gonna start another fight. It was a bit...
Next time I go up against him,
Well, when that time comes...
Really, guys? What a waste. Starving. Pretty tasty, thanks.
ありがとうございました。
Hello?
It's Shirosaki. Are you in Yokohama?
Yeah,
Yes.
off the record.
They want to discuss with the judge. The video has gone viral, of course.
It's the prosecution.
That's quite possible, which is why we're meeting.
Of course.
Thank you very much.
So what you're saying is, Yui Mamiya was not a victim of sexual battery, but rather she conspired with Akihiro Ehara to fake a murder alibi. We've already closed the book on that ordeal, yet now the defense wants to write a sequel?
To establish the defendant's motive in the harassment, the groping at...
It sounds like the defendant has some strong hostility for the court.
Ehara got the court to accept his murder alibi by twisting the legal... It was easy to miss, because at the time, Miko... But we have to admit...
We?
Yagami-sensei still has a license.
Forget what I said if it offended you.
My superiors always told me that in his youth, your Genda-sensei was a difficult... He'd insist his clients were innocent. He was hostile to the prosecution, but it was his sheer disrespect.
Damn. You sure know an awful lot about
Because I honestly can't say I like him.
I'll tell you this. There's no higher praise for the defense than being called difficult by...
Now, if we confirm the defendant himself has agreed to the appeal.
Yes.
But if Ehara really committed the murder, why would...
Ehara's objective isn't to get away with...
And what is he?
Making a mockery of...
Then it'd be best not to...
And you'd be right. If your priority is saving face in front of the court...
You've got a real attitude.
Sorry, I'm a bit...
So, with this appeal, the defense wants to assert the defendant's innocence by establishing his guilt in a murder.
Wait, before we go on, who is this?
He's from the Metropolitan Police. Considering Ehara was on the force, he has a vested interest here. He's not here to participate, don't worry.
The police can't afford to be embarrassed any further. We need to send the right message to the public.
Can we have your name, please?
The name is Bando.
And your title?
Think of me as a kind of police coordinator. But don't let me interrupt the proceedings. Forget I'm even here.
So much for this meeting being off the record.
Allow me to restate the prosecution's opinion to the judge. We cannot allow the murder footage to be used as new evidence in Akihiro Ehara's appeal. It's nothing but an online hoax of unknown origin. We can't just casually introduce that into court.
Indeed.
Furthermore, if Ehara bears such hostility towards the court, the footage might end up being a trap.
Trap?
Yes. What if the next viral video proves the original footage was doctored? What if the proceedings have already begun by then? Do we drop the appeal and call it a day? We cannot allow a man like Ehara to swing the court around by its nose at his whims. With that in mind, I believe Ehara's conviction should be upheld and enforced. Would the defense care to comment? Did you think any of this...
We aim to prove the defendant's innocence, no matter what your objections may be.
And what about you?
We will prove Ehara is innocent of sexual battery.
You mean the murder video? You're no better. Is there any real proof that the video isn't fake? Or are you trying to set a precedent for court sentences?
True. The prosecution might have a point here.
What?
The murder footage may not have shown Ehara-san assaulting anyone, but...
Oh, right.
What is this nonsense?
Ehara's guilty verdict. We don't think there was enough evidence at the first trial to result in that verdict.
There was fiber from the victim's underwear.
That was a trick. It was set up with cooperation from...
There is no evidence it was a trick. Are you saying Yui Mamiya and... Was there perhaps any security footage we didn't see?
No, the station erases the footage from their cameras after a few days.
Right. But if there's even a chance Ehara and Mamiya were a team, the underwear fiber proves nothing. What were the other deciding factors? Security footage? The smartphone videos we kept seeing on TV? Those don't prove the crime either, because there was a huge time gap in them.
What?
We've done enough legwork to... Did you walk around the site with your own 2 feet, prosecutor?
Well, no. But I have been to Shinjuku Station plenty of times.
Then you must know they have a mountain of security cameras. But if you went there to look carefully, you'd find that's Ahara running, while Mamiya chases after her. It seems as though the whole chase is recorded. But this area, that's the momentary gap in time where
The victim was running right behind Ehara. She would have noticed if they swapped places right in front of her eyes.
Oh, but she knew about the swap all along. They were all in.
Can you prove that?
We don't have to prove the defendant is innocent, Takara-san.
What?
All we have to prove is that the evidence provided by the prosecution at the trial was insufficient to determine guilt. Because that's the role of a defense counsel.
Indeed it is.
If the prosecution can't debunk any and all possibility that the train groping was a put-up job, then it's innocent until proven guilty.
Then the defense should have brought it up the first time. Although I doubt Shirosaki-sensei actually believed in the defendant's innocence herself.
The guilty verdict at the trial was orchestrated by the defendant. It was our error not to have seen it at the time, but it would be another not to correct ourselves now.
Stop being so dramatic. He's just a subway perv.
That is a statement I cannot abide. The law can't give the impression that a false charge is permissible, even for a subway perv.
Right. I take that back. I misspoke.
I do believe this case is worth a trial in the appeal court. If the court was misled by a hostile defendant, then only the court can correct it.
Thank you very much.
However, I too have seen Ihara-san's murder footage. I believe it would be difficult to introduce it as evidence in this trial. Therefore, I cannot allow it to be brought into the courtroom at this time.
Sorry, son. Think you got this covered?
Huh?
I'll poke my head in at the office.
Very well, we'll...
Bando-san, was it?
I don't recall
Do you
saying-
know Reiko Kusamoto?
Of course.
Any particular reason she's under
A rather bold question, isn't it?
It's just you and me here.
I see you know how to cut to the chase.
Ahara's trial can't be that important to you. So I have to figure I'm the reason you showed up. You want to know where Kawana is. Were you finally forced to get off your ass because nobody else can get eyes on her?
Kawana, otherwise known as Yu Kitakata, is wanted on suspicion of murder.
Wanted for murder? Huh. Because you know, I thought it was RK acting on your orders that killed Sawa-sensei. You think you can hide that fact forever? Even the cops in the field have their suspicions.
Do they? Well, the cubicle workers always resent the corner offices. Officers in the field complain about their superiors. I did the same thing back in my day.
Then why did you use thugs as your pawns instead of officers? Is that how Sawa-sensei got roped into this?
I'm afraid I'm not following.
You knew it was going to be a dirty job from the beginning. That's why you couldn't use anybody on the force. Or maybe you just weren't able to find an underling you could fully trust.
That's a good one.
Public security's only tricks are surveillance and call tracing. You leave the dirty work to the thugs.
That may be true, but it's enough to crush the likes of you.
I'm gonna ask just in case. Where is Soma now?
Hand over Kawana to me and there will be no more victims.
What?
Do you have a reason to protect him? I already know he's going around executing bullies. He's a disturbance to public order.
But he wasn't the one who killed Sawa-sensei.
I didn't come here to argue. I came to issue an ultimatum.
いらっしゃいませ。ありがとうございました。
いらっしゃいませ。ありがとうございました。いらっしゃいませ。ありがとうございました。
And stay down. What a waste.
"いらっしゃいませ。 ありがとうございました。
Really, guys? Excuse me.
ありがとうございました。
And stay down.
Yagami, that man Bondo.
Yeah, there's no...
I see.
Hoshino-kun.
Yeah, one of
He's
the
back?
He's number
Yeah.
2. Well, I'm not sure if you're aware, Yagami-san, but RK owns some of the cabaret clubs in Kamurocho. And Akutsu, if a girl makes a lot of sales, or Akutsu apparently...
How do you know this?
Our clients come...
So to sum it all up, a popular girl has a chance to meet...
But this week nobody was getting that chance, which is how I figured out Akutsu is back.
Oh, well, that makes sense.
That's the part I don't know. RK bosses never sleep in the same...
But despite the risk, Akutsu still reaches out to...
Hey, I'm not even mad. In fact, I'm up for the challenge.
Awesome, Sari-san. If you can rock the cabaret gig again,
It'd be an undercover mission to infiltrate. Super risky. But damn if I don't want to see Saori-san transform one more time! I can't help it!
What the hell's gotten into you?
Are there any bars we know for sure that RK owns?
There is. You remember Queen Rouge, the place Saori-san snuck into a long time ago? RK recently took over the
Queen Rouge. What about the owner?
Yep, he's still there. One of the original. Only thing is, it used to be a classy spot, but they've
Really?
cut. Hey, totally.
This is no time to be idiots.
Okay, well, Sari-san, you'll need the whole makeover again.
No need, I'll be fine.
Huh?
Just the other day, Mari-san and I figured out what kind of makeup goes over
With Mari? Well, counterpoint.
With all due respect, don't judge what you haven't seen.
Oh, really? Okay, I'll leave it to you, Sari-san.
Believe me, I'm not one to boast, but I'm confident my efforts are in the best interest.
That's the spirit. With Saori-kun here, Gendo law will have its
True. And we've got.
All right, should we get on?
Let's do this.